Recently, there was an advertisement in a British website for nannies, and the couple that was advertising for childcare for their twin daughters said that the girls can be little terrors at times, 5-year-olds. But the ad said that, like most 5-year-olds, our girls are obsessed with Disney, and we feel this would be the best way to communicate some important values. We think it would be a great way to teach our girls about things like determination, compassion, fearlessness, and ambition from strong yet reliable female role models. In addition, there was a $53,000 salary in the advertisement, and the couple also promised to provide a full set of Disney princess costumes. And oh, sorry, it's too late for any one of you to apply. The position has been taken. Well, quite obviously, fantasy heroes are a very big part of our culture. But today, we want to talk to you about a non-fiction set of heroes, and we call them the saints. Today, as you know, is the Feast of All Saints, a solemnity in the church, because we're celebrating the fact that God's children, as we hear in the second reading today, that's who we are, the children of God by adoption through his Son Jesus Christ. We are called to be saints. What does that mean? It means set apart from the world, from this worldly world, whose values are so different from the Christian values. You know, what the Christians experienced, for example, in ancient Rome, was a culture where, for example, the father of a family, once a child was born, would examine the child and decide from its fitness and its robustness, signs of health and so forth, whether the father considered it worthy of living. And if he did, it was taken into the family. If he didn't, it was left on the street to die. That's what they did in the Roman culture. That's not what the Christians did. Christians believe that every human being, whatever their background, are children of God. Whether you had Roman citizenship, which was everything in that culture, by the way, St. Paul had it. The other apostles did not. Paul had it. And so he was treated differently, but not for the Christians. Paul humbled himself and treated everyone, whether they had citizenship or not, as a child of God, from the moment that they were known until the moment God called them to eternity. That was the Christian. And there was a consistency about the way they lived their lives. You heard the Beatitudes. It was not culturally acceptable. For example, blessed are the poor in spirit. Blessed are the poor in spirit. That makes no sense. Aren't we supposed to have good school spirit? Yes, but what he's talking about is humility. That is to say that God and I am not. God is Lord and I am a child of God. And if I walk in the ways of God, then I shall know divine friendship. Remember, Jesus said to the Christians, I call you my friends, for I've made known all that the Father has told me. You see, there was a consistency. There was a great early writer in the church, St. Peter, who wrote about the old Adam and the new Adam. He said this: the Holy Apostle, Paul, tells us that the human race takes its origin from two, Adam and Christ. Two men equal in body, but unequal in spirit. Wholly alike in their physical structure, but totally unlike in the very origin of their being. The first man, Adam, Paul says, became a living soul. The last Adam, a life-giving spirit. Now, yes, Jesus, the new Adam, is a son of Adam in the sense that he is a descendant in the flesh. But he is also God from God, light from light, true God from true God, begotten, not made, right? So he's the eternal Son. So the new Adam, as he says now, is one formed by his own action. He did not have to wait for life to be given him by someone else, but was the only one who could give life to all. The first Adam was formed from valueless clay. The second Adam came forth from the precious womb of the Virgin. In the case of the first Adam, earth was changed into flesh. In the case of the second Adam, flesh was raised up to be God. We now, in Christ, are called to the divine life, to divine friendship. Are we living as the children of God? Do we understand what it is that St. Paul would call us all saints if we are followers of Christ? Are we living that way? Well, it calls for a consistency in our ethic. Recently, Archbishop Kacha, who is the papal representative to the United Nations, as they honored the 75th anniversary of the United Nations, spoke about a problem in this world, which he calls a lack of consistency. He said, how can we proclaim the rights of people with disabilities while at the same time permit that children diagnosed with Down syndrome in the womb are eliminated before they're born? He said this, how can we say we're fighting for sex trafficking victims while at the same time allowing demand for the commodification of women driven up through the legalization of prostitution or the promotion of pornography? Or how can we have open-ended working groups on aging focusing on the dignity of seniors while looking when in various countries seniors are suffering involuntary euthanasia? People of faith are called both to comfort the afflicted and afflict people. When various injustices are occurring, we are summoned in a particular way to live up to its principles. I think Archbishop was getting right to the point of the consistency of what we profess, that is, faith professed, and life experienced or lived. That's what the saints got. There was a consistency in the receiving of the message of Jesus Christ and then actually living it. That's what a saint is. The church in the last couple of weeks has given us two new blesseds on the way to canonization as saints. One is a great priest, humble priest, lived only into his 30s, and yet in his few years as a priest, a couple of decades in service, what did he do? He gave us the Knights of Columbus. Blessed Father Michael J. McGivney, newly declared blessed just yesterday. That wonderful priest who died in a pandemic, I believe it was 1890, as he was serving the people of God. Many, many widows, many orphans, husbands and fathers had died in the difficult and hard work of being immigrants in Connecticut in the 1800s. Catholics were despised. They were rejected. And to them, generously, humbly, and eventually his life was lost to the pandemic. And now we have him as a great intercessor, having healed a child in the womb through his intercession. Another great saint on the way to canonization is Blessed Carlo Acutis, who lived just outside of Milan and is now buried, teenager, 15-year-old, a millennium, who liked to play soccer, who played Pokemon and on his PlayStation, and yet developed as his hobby wonderful website on Eucharistic miracles. He'd go to Mass every day. This young teenager, who himself died of a blood disease at the age of 15, is now a new patron of the internet. God is giving us saints. God is sending us the help that we need to intercede for us in this world today, so that we, like the saints, can become consistent in both professing our faith and living it. These words from our saint Peter Chrysologus might inspire you as he concluded his message. Now that we are reborn, he means in baptism as children of God, in the likeness of, and have indeed been adopted by God as his children, let us put on the complete image of our Creator, so as to be wholly like him, not in the glory that he alone possesses, but in innocence, simplicity, gentleness, patience, humility, mercy, harmony, those qualities in which he chose to become and to be